Hello and welcome to the Disappearance of the Universe audio book club call. My name is Jared Krebs and today is Friday, June 9th. And today's call is me and Peter George from Houston, Texas. Say hi, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
And
Hi,
whoever, right? Hello, glad you're on the call. And whoever else joins, we will definitely welcome them as they come on. But I've had a few people contact me and say that they would not be able to be on today because of work or other things that they have going on. So that's totally okay. It'll be me and Peter today. We're going to talk about Chapter 2 and what we got out of it, what were our highlights, discuss some questions, and then we might end the call early depending on if more people get on or if we've said what we need to say. So you ready to make it happen, Peter?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. So what was the highlights for you in Chapter 2? And tell us a little bit about where you've been. It's been a while since we've had you on the calls. It's great to hear your voice.
Well, I've been busy, I guess, with life and work and fun and traveling and just kind of living. And at the same time, I've been missing this phone call and missing the wisdom of this book and the wisdom of the call and sharing with other humans, because I find it's always better to get an understanding when you can interact with live humans and contemplate topics like this instead of just reading something in the book and living in your head about it.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. It's always... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's always nice to just have conversations about it.
Absolutely, yeah. It kind of helps. I don't know. It kind of helps the understanding and also lessens the significance about it all, and it makes it more real when I exchange ideas and listen to other people.
Oh yeah.
Stuff happens. Yeah. So I realized in my own life lately, probably what is something I would like to revisit is this whole idea about we live in this illusion, and that I was trying to get my mind wrapped around when they say the disappearance of the universe. What does that mean exactly? What is qualified as the universe? If our goal is for the universe to disappear, my mind got a little bogged down with that thought, and so I've been trying to create some understanding about that. And then when I started listening to this chapter, the first time when the lady, what's her name?
Persa,
when she first starts talking, I thought, well, the universe surely works quick, because that was the question I was bringing to it. And in her first speaking, she says, basically, all physical form is symbolic. That, and I guess I'm trying to make up some meaning to that, but what I'm coming up with, I kind of can relate to it, that all physical form is symbolic in that our minds are a projection of something, and the way the world occurs to us is based on our understanding of it, and for a lot of us, it's a polluted understanding that we inherited from our predecessors. And so we're projecting out the way the world is, when in fact it doesn't have to be that way at all. It's not that way at all. Our projection influences our perception. And so what I'm taking that to mean that all physical form is symbolic is that our projections and our perceiving of those projections are totally subject to us. That within us lies a power to create and project and experience anything we want. We can write the script, and we can plug in to a source that's limitless and intelligent and knowledgeable and all-loving, and then we can be that, project that, experience that. And that's what's real. The love and the basically the invisible is more real than the visible. The physical form is a symbol, but what's really real is the love energy around it, in it, before it, something like that. What you think about that?
I think that's very well put. That's a lot of what Course in Miracles talks about is we are creations of God, and the extension of our creations is love. Basically, we're the love that we give to each other and that we look upon our fellow human beings with is a way of it's a way of expanding. It's a way of recognizing the perfect Christ that is each person. And we all have different points of views. It's a lot like you're in a cruise ship, and one person's looking through one side at the perspective of the cruise ship, and then the other person's looking through another perspective, and we're all these different perspectives, but we're all the same at the end. And definitely that is what's real. The love is real, and the things that cannot be threatened or the things that cannot be changed are real. Everything that is in this temporary universe is not real, even though it feels real.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and I find that I can grasp that sometimes, and then sometimes the unreal seems so real and so convincing, I can also get bogged down in it and get twisted up and in a foul mood because of something that happened, and it occurs to me as if I'm a victim of that thing, when that thing is actually my creation.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. The thought system of the ego versus the thought system of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And so recently in my life, I've been having to face something. It's been a life journey for me, basically to take responsibility for my emotional state. And mainly, like if I'm upset with something, my tendency has been for many years to avoid the upset by whatever means I have to, usually shoving it down and pretending it's not there, or trying to be cool about it and think that I'm rising above it when in fact I'm not. I'm kind of disturbed on the inside, and I really need to communicate something. I'm not sure what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
But so that is where I'm at right now in life, and that's why I kind of thought, well, let me listen to this book a little more and get on the call, because this whole idea about forgiveness, in that we create the dream. I don't remember what that wasn't in this chapter about the dream and the dreamer and the forgiveness, but that's a really beautiful concept, which allows me to be less significant about everything. When recently I was starting to get significant about a situation where I had to communicate something that I was standing for, which had me uncomfortable because it would involve a little confrontation. It would involve putting myself out there in a way that I'm not comfortable with. But my old method of dealing with it, which is to shove it down and pretend and act cool, is not working anymore. Like the inner emotional feelings that I normally shove down, I guess I'm at a point now where that just doesn't work. So I'm having to communicate and really look at myself. Well, if I'm going to dream a dream, how do I want that dream to be? And how can I be authentic about that and communicate that in a way that at least I'm standing for what I think I want to stand for?
Oh, yeah. Much more authentic way to be.
Yeah. And although it's awkward, I realize it's not going to kill me just to take a stand for something and communicate it and bring those distinctions from Landmark about, what keeps me empowered, which is an authentic communication, and let go of blaming someone or making someone wrong, in a way that the message or the commitment that I'm living for lives. Like I'm living for a particular commitment, and let me just keep focused on communicating what that commitment is and enrolling and empowering the people around me that this is what I'm standing for, and see if I can get other people on board with the same kind of thing, versus me feeling resentful and angry at people and feeling like a victim in my own experience.
Well said. I love what you're saying because it's authentic. And at the end of the day, you have to feel good about it, especially when something you know is happening that you don't want to happen or you're not feeling good about. So I applaud you for that, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and with the method of forgiveness that they offer in this book, it's really makes it a lot easier. And I'm looking forward to getting more in that forgiveness. Uh, I forget what it's called. I don't formula for forgiveness. I'm going to call it, which basically has me be able to step back from the dream that I've been dreaming and realize that none of it is real. It's all made up. I can forgive it because it never really existed. It's something I created from a faulty program, or I don't know, faulty, from a program that I inherited, a way of being, a way of living, a way of the ego, when what's really trying to happen, I think, is life is trying to have me be a little less attached to that egoic way of being, but at the same time stand for something that's good, something that's loving, something that empowers others, something that recognizes the beauty and the greatness in all humans, rather than say, well, it's okay the way it is, when in fact I'm not okay with the way it is. I want everyone in my little world to feel empowered and to feel valued and to feel loved and feel like their voice matters too. And we're all working towards a common goal along those lines, rather than settling for mediocrity and shoving the emotions under the rug and pretending everything's good when in fact it's not sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's why I got back on the call to get a little more familiar with this forgiveness process, because I find that cleans the slate. It clears the mind, it cleans the slate, and it allows the space for creating good stuff.
Absolutely. And I want to share with you some of the things that we've learned from Gary Renard. I can't remember when the last call was that we had you on, Peter, but do you remember when we said that we were going to have a personal counseling session with Gary Renard himself?
Yeah, and I never heard any follow-up since then, so you got my attention.
Awesome. So we ended up having that first 1 hour session with Gary Renard, and it was just super exciting because we were able to ask a lot of questions that had been on our mind from A Course in Miracles. And
Yeah,
just, I mean, really, we're getting to know the author and just to almost become his friend, you know? So he gets on the call, and the first call we did was just over a telephone call. It was just like a recorded phone call. And what we learned right away was he has access to Art and Persa in real time. So we could literally ask him a question, and then he could communicate with Arten and Persa telepathically, like in his mind, and give us answers to our questions from a higher source than just his own mind.
that's great.
So he's kind of mystical in that way.
Yeah.
And
was it very fascinating, some of it, or what?
incredibly. And the first kind of set of questions that we had was a lot around false idols. You know, we make our goals, our financial goals, our family goals, whatever goal, we make those as a substitute for God. We feel like if we achieve that relationship, or we achieve that financial goal, or we achieve that business goal, or whatever we're shooting for, striving for, working towards, that we will have satisfaction. And as you know, the satisfaction is always very short-lived. And it's really an ego process to go for these false idols all the time. And the answer is not to stop going for the goals. Like that would be kind of the Buddhist approach, right? The Buddhist approach would be like, well, don't go for any goals, just be a monk and meditate. And
Yeah, right.
and that's actually, when you try and refrain from the goals, just like making them real. It's just as I don't want to call it bad, but it's just as real if you're trying to refrain from, you know, a certain, activity or reason, just because you're trying to be spiritual or whatever. So you're in a catch-22. So what do you do? And so what we learned is, what we're supposed to do in that case is still go for the goals, because that's kind of part of the movie script of your life. That's kind of part of your DNA in this life of what you're shooting for. But look at it from a movie. Pretend like you're in a movie theater and you're sitting next to Jesus in the movie theater, watching you live your life. Take a step back from being in your life, and you're watching your life go by in a movie theater with Jesus. Watch yourself go for the goals. Watch yourself, struggle. Watch yourself be lustful over whatever. Watch yourself indulge in alcohol. Watch yourself do it all.
Yeah.
And don't judge it. And just watch yourself go through it. And we asked him questions like, is there any difference, between these false idols? For example, is wanting sex any worse than wanting a business goal, or, whatever? And he said, no, he said, it's all the same. So when you find yourself in these situations of wanting and going for false idols, you can still do it. Just realize it and just watch it in the movie screen and forgive it, and just keep having fun and forgiving everything that comes up. Because eventually, if you keep forgiving everything that comes up, eventually you'll even forgive the deepest false idols that you have. So it was
I like that.
It was really good to learn that, so that we don't try and deny our desires as well, because that also does not work.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, so that was one of the main things. And then another question I had was, what about my visualizations? Every morning I wake up and I pray to God to help me make more money and help my business grow, and I visualize me making more money, and I visualize my business growing. And I said, aren't I really just putting all my mental energy into false idols? Isn't that kind of like not good, Yeah. And what I learned was that there's actually a way to connect with the Holy Spirit on a different level through true prayer. And it's the last 23 pages of the Course in Miracles. Gary Renard gave me homework. Actually, it was Art and Persa through Gary Renard. And they said, you need to go read the last 23 pages of the Course in Miracles book. It's called The Song of Prayer.
Yeah.
And it talks about what is true prayer. And true prayer is connecting with God and asking for only one thing. And that one thing is to accept what's already been given, to receive what's already there, and to learn forgiveness as your vision wants it to be, or basically to learn the thought system of the Holy Spirit. Because really, Peter, that's the only problem. The only problem that needs to be solved is the thought system of the ego being replaced with the thought system of the Holy Spirit. All the other problems, which would be my business problems, my personal life problems, my health problems, my health goals, my business goals, whatever, all of those are basically ego goals. And
they're rooted in an ego's thought system of lack.
Yes, and there's some type of premise that if I get these goals that I'll be happy, but we all know that that's not true. So
Right. Lack can never be fulfilled because it's not real anyway. What's lacking is the connection to the Holy Spirit.
exactly, or the awareness. Actually, we're already connected,
Yeah.
but it's just the awareness.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
and so now when I start my day by saying, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, I give you all of my false idols. And I kind of like visualize myself holding it up on an altar. Here is my my financial goals and my financial idols. Here's my special relationships. Here's my sexual idols. Here's my business idols. Here is my whatever. And I kind of put them all up
Yeah.
in my mind and I say, here, take them. The only thing I want is to accept what's already been given, to receive what's already there, and to learn forgiveness as your vision lets it be. And I'm going to take a minute or two to just be with you in your love. And that's all I want. And it's called true prayer. And true prayer
Yeah.
is what it did. I just gave you an example of true prayer. And then all I do is I be silent for a couple minutes and I just try and focus on God's love and how none of this is real and that God is perfect and I'm perfect. And you know, it's like a just trying to feel God's love just for a couple minutes, you know? And,
Yeah.
and that's called true prayer. And then what he said, don't be afraid, because my fear is that if I don't visualize or if I don't do this or that, that I will not manifest my goals. That's my fear. And
Ah.
he said, don't be afraid. He said, when you do true prayer, what's going to happen is the Holy Spirit is going to give you little inspired ideas about your business. The Holy Spirit's going to
Yes.
give you little inspired ideas about your financial goals, about your relationship goals. And those little inspired ideas and those little hunches are actually what's going to make them happen. It's not so much the visualization as it is just connecting with God. And then, of course, once you're done, still go out, still work, still go for the goals. But you're putting yourself in a position to receive more guidance from the Holy Spirit. So in a way, it's almost more effective than praying for things or visualizing the thing.
Ah, yeah.
And
yeah, I love
fact,
it. And actually,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
and
go
in
ahead.
fact, when you pray for things that are not that, like if you're praying for the ego goals, that's actually prayer to destroy, because you're saying, I know my will is more strong than God's will, and I'm going for my goals and my this and my that. So it's called prayer to destroy. So asking for things in prayer is actually called prayer to destroy.
Yeah, we're asking for the connection, and to be able to hear the guidance will put you on the path for your highest good, whether it includes your financial bank account or not. We don't really know that.
Correct.
Your original prayers were based on a thought system that we all grew up with, which said, well, if I get a lot of money and a nice house and a good relationship, I'll be okay. And maybe that may be okay, and there's nothing bad about it. But if you achieve all of these material things, as we've seen, you know, in the world, there's so many people that have achieved material wealth beyond need, you know, times 1,000. And yet, some cases, those are the most miserable people around. They end up killing the spouse and stuff. So material wealth in itself has no spiritual value alone. And if you have a spiritual connection and you're in touch with your guidance and intelligence, there's nothing wrong with having financial abundance. But I get what you're saying. If that false idol is your main priority, well, then you're just missing out on the connection and the voice inside of the guidance.
Yes. Yes.
And I think the lesson in life is for us to really fine tune the ability to hear that whisper that guides us, you know, whatever it may be. And along the path of achieving those goals, if that seems right, you'll be guided along that path as well as I will. If I'm on the right path, the path will continue to open. But if
Exactly.
it doesn't open anymore, we have to listen for the whisper. Well, what is my path? What is my best good? How can I develop myself to be loving and connected in the most highest way while I'm here on this journey? And, what's the path? What's the people I'm supposed to be around? What's my attitudes? All of that.
Oh yeah.
The guidance is really the key. And when we are in touch with the guidance, that is fulfillment from what I can see in my experience. Being in touch with the guidance is in itself fulfillment.
Yeah.
I,
I
I,
agree.
I don't know if I shared this with you, but when I was in the process of getting divorced, I was 40 years old. I'd been married for 20 years, and I was miserably depressed and trying to hide that from myself and from everybody and keep working and looking good and be strong and make money. And yet my life was falling apart. And man, was I resisting the hell out of it just because I didn't know any better. I was so attached to looking good and looking strong and not having any weak emotions and not wanting to deal with myself. So I just kept doing the same thing I always did. And I was getting divorced, and my wife was an alcoholic, and my family was upset, and my kids were upset, and I'm trying to act like I'm Mr. Strongman. But I was really hurting inside, and my mind was crazy, and I was full of anxiety and depression, and just was feeling like I was going nuts. And going to meetings and other things to try to see what the hell's happening to me. And I was out on the bayou deer hunting in a deer stand in a boat by myself in the middle of nowhere. I was reading a book on codependency, and the chapter that I was on was about anger. It says that most codependent people have a mountain of anger inside of them from saying no every time you meant yes and saying yes every time you meant no, from people pleasing and everything else, which is all kind of ego based unworthiness. And so I was reading that chapter about anger, and I started really feeling angry for probably the first time in my whole life. I let myself feel angry, and
Uh-huh.
I started screaming and cussing and hollering. And before you know it, I was just having this blast out to the universe of just vomiting up all of this raunchy emotional feeling.
Uh-huh.
And it went on for several minutes. And when it was all done, I was like clear. And it wasn't directed at anybody. It was just a releasing of junk, toxic junk. And when I say clear, I can't really describe how clear I was. I went from being depressed and full of anxiety for a few years to being so connected to life and to myself and to the spirit that the whole world around me occurred differently. It occurred like it was alive and breathing, like the trees and the clouds and the air, everything just felt like it was fully alive. And inside of me, I had this wonderful sense of alive peacefulness and clarity and connection to something way bigger than anything I ever experienced in my life. And I was high and grounded all at the same time. It was a phenomenal experience, and it lasted for a week. And so I guess that's right. And it went away, and I
It
had
lasted for a
moments
week
of it.
though. Wow.
It lasted for 1 week. I'd go to bed at night the first night, and I closed my eyes, and I heard a little voice in my head said, "Oh, should I go to sleep? I don't want to lose this." And the other whisper said, "You can't lose it. It's there." I went to sleep and slept like a baby, and I woke up the next morning, and before my eyes opened, I heard the whisper and the knowing that said, it's still there. And, it was just like being in heaven. It was like being in heaven, but on earth. There was nothing airy-fairy about it. It was real and palpable. And every other human I encountered, when I look into their eyes, I could see, they have heaven too. Heaven is in there, but they can't feel it. It was clouded over with something. And I had like a knowing that in an instant they could be in heaven too, right here on earth. And ever since then, I've been, learning and I'm trying to understand. Well, what the hell happened to me? How did that happen, and how can I get it back? And I've wrestled with my own egoic thoughts and attachments and all of the old ways. And life has put on my path various tools and teachings to kind of help me reconnect with that. And I feel like that's what this book is, and that it's no accident I met you and you're doing this. And so when they say the universe disappears, from what I had in that experience, I felt it. It didn't go anywhere. The material world didn't go anywhere. It actually came more alive. But what happened was my inner receiver of connection like turned on, like a switch turned on, and all of a sudden I had been walking for 40 years through a desert, and then all of a sudden I found myself at the bottom of Niagara Falls, with enough water to feed a whole country. That's how satisfying it was. Oh, it was amazing.
Wow.
And so the ego, I mean, and the noise in my head went from a noisy, crazy head to like the volume button was turned down to mute, and I didn't hear any more noise. I just sensed a knowing of this connection, and it was palpable. It was real. It was amazing, and I knew everyone else had it because I could see it in them. Like I could see through, I guess, what might be called the universe or reality into the spiritual dimension and feel and see that connection and see the love. Like I could see through the paint on the car. If everyone was a car and they had a paint job, I could see through the paint and see that loving soul in there. And I guess that's why I'm drawn to this book, to get a little more reconnected with that experience.
Wow. I love it. That's big.
It was beautiful.
I did not know that, Peter. Wow.
Oh, it was great. And the Course in Miracles is, like you said, an instruction manual for getting there. And it could be slow. It could be, in my case, it was instantaneous. Some people go meditate on the mountain or be a monk or whatever they do, and they might achieve that. I went nuts and screamed, and I achieved it. So I don't know. There's so many ways to reconnect with your spirit, the Holy Spirit. It doesn't have to be a particular way.
Yeah. Wow.
And I kept working, and this is a little knowing that occurred from it. I was working at this little boat repair business I had at the time, and when I showed up to work the first day, it all occurred different too. Like it didn't matter if I was working in that boat shop. What I did I realized had no meaning. What we do has no meaning because the being was so profound. It was all about the being was a connection to a source so fulfilling. It didn't matter if I fixed a boat or a motor, or if I rode in a garbage truck, or if I was the president, or if I was a bum on side the road collecting money. That didn't matter. The being connected was so powerfully fulfilling in itself. The doing had no significance whatsoever.
Wow. That's big time.
It was beautiful, yeah.
Peter, that is so cool.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I've longed for it ever since, but I got kind of caught back up in the ways of the world and the egoic thinking and fearfulness, and often don't feel that connection anymore. But I have a commitment to keep learning how to recreate that, how to shuck a few layers of junk. And I mean, the source is always in us, like you said. We don't have to achieve anything or gain anything. It's more or less releasing that which isn't love and God. And what's left is loving God. It's all there. It's like the light that just has a blanket over it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It is there. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I want to wrap up our call by sharing a story from our last session with Gary Renard. And
Sure.
And by the way, if you want to have a session with Gary Renard, Peter, it's $300 and you get to talk to him for an hour. And
okay,
it's like way worth it. Anyway, we've had 4 sessions with him. I believe it's 3 or 4. And our last session was Wednesday. And so we spoke with him again through Arten and Persa. And always at the end of the session, I always ask, what guidance or advice does Arten and Persa have for us so that we can accelerate our awakening from this dream and accelerate our learning of the Holy Spirit's thought system and awakening from the dream, right? And his advice was, every person that you look at, look into their eyes, and while you're interacting with them and you're talking to them about business or life or your kids or whoever they are, your spouse, whatever they are, just talk to them about being normal. But in your mind, think, you are perfect. You are God. You are not this body. And you are in heaven.
Yes.
And see the perfection in their eyes. And just think that, you are not this body. You are God. You are perfect. And you are in heaven. You are not here in this world. You are in heaven. And he said, that's
how it was.
Yeah. He said,
when I had that week, that's exactly how everyone occurred.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was our advice. And I went and I did that at a Starbucks. Actually, I had done it. I had actually done it even before the meeting with Gary. And I got in a headspace for about 10 minutes that was like so profound. I was just looking at everybody as beautiful and perfect instead of, fat and out of shape and
the judgment, right? The judgments and rackets. Yeah.
Like, instead of looking at most, because our country's so obese anyway, so it's so easy to like look at someone and be like, damn, or just look at a hot woman and be like, dang, like you want that, so look at them all and just think how perfect they are, and how perfect you are, Peter, and that you are not this body, and that you are in heaven, and then just keep doing that. As much as I possibly can with everybody. And that's literally my homework, quote unquote, or what we have to do, till our next session with him. So that's that. Yes. I just wanted to share that, because maybe that could also be a tool to help you, call upon that state, whenever you're around people, so, and I've even been doing it when I watch TV. And I see, I see, the politicians, and I see the news people, and I see the sports people, and I just think how perfect they all are.
Yes, exactly. That's beautiful. I mean, that creates a new world, and it's an inside job. Nobody out there changed, but your perception and your projection is what's changing.
Yes. Exactly.
I like that homework. I think I'll take the same homework practice. Yeah.
Right.
I heard Eckhart Tolle said this in one of his books. He said kind of all what you just said, but a little differently. And he said, try this. Next time you're with another human and you hear your judgmental mind go off to where it goes in about a millisecond, look at that person and say, God, I hardly recognized you.
That's a good
one. It's like God's in 7 billion disguises on the planet Earth,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm about to go to the symphony, and I'm going to be around all these people, and I'm going to be with my in-laws, and I'm just going to think how perfect each person is. And I'm just going to do my very best to put my mind in that framework. And Gary told us,
I like it.
He said that you don't even have a clue how far you're advancing when you do that, and how much progress you're making.
Yeah.
And so it's very exciting. And
yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm going
yeah,
to practice it.
of course. And then also lastly, two more things, Peter, that are very exciting. I have asked Gary to be a special guest on our Disappearance of the Universe call, these Friday calls. And he's going
Awesome.
to be on live in person on July 21st. That's obviously over a month away, month and a half away, but he's committed to that day, July 21st at 4:00. So
Okay.
mark your calendar. You're the first person to know. Besides
Okay. All right. Awesome.
And then also the second cool piece of info is me and Crystal are going on a vacation to LA. In about a week and a half, we're going to be in LA for we're going to do some of stuff for our business. But Gary Renard and his wife Cindy live in LA, and we're going to have lunch with him and his wife on Wednesday the 28th. So I'm going to get to meet Gary.
Oh, cool. That's fabulous.
No,
Awesome.
so we're just going to keep you posted, on all of our little journeys and things we learn from Gary and Cindy. And actually, oh, geez, I need to tell you this too. Gary Renard is coming to Texas in October for a weekend retreat in Corpus.
I saw that.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I am going for sure. And I want to encourage you and Rebecca or whoever. If Rebecca doesn't want to go, that's okay as well. But I want to definitely encourage you to be there and hopefully bring as many as you can. Crystal, my wife, also will not be there because she had already planned a trip to go to Salem for Halloween, like where the witches are and all that. So that's like her little thing she's going to do. So Crystal will not be there.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah, so we got a lot.
It's in August?
It's in October.
October, yeah. That might work for me. I'm going to keep it in mind.
Okay, I will tag you on Facebook. Do you still get on Facebook regularly?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tag you on Facebook so you can see where we had mentioned that, and you can save the date.
Okay. Awesome.
Awesome. Any final words, Peter, you want to say before we end the call?
Well, I want to thank you for hosting the call. I could make up judgments about it, but I was thinking, more people should be involved in these conversations, but that's really not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to manage our own journey and do our homework to create love and clear our own conditioning. So I guess I'm just thankful that you had the call and that I was able to get on it with you and you shared that last story. That's going to help me out this weekend to practice getting my, it's almost like a lens that we look through so that I can clean up my lens that I see the world through. And I'm going to practice what you just said about seeing God and seeing love, because when I had that week of highness, that's exactly what it was.
Wow. That's phenomenal. Well, Peter, you are very welcome. And, I had a similar thought of, I wish more people were on the call, but honestly, this was perfect just how it happened. I mean, when else would me and you talk for an hour over a spiritual topic? It's very rare. I would have to be in Houston staying at your house probably to make that happen. And we just completed something that might not even happen once a year,
Exactly. Yeah, it was a gift.
Yeah, it's very special to be able to have this with you. In fact, this is the only call we've ever done with two people. There's always been three or more. So this is a special call. I think of it as a special call, and we have it recorded, so you can actually go back and listen to it. It will be posted on our YouTube channel, and we'll just keep going. We'll be back here Friday at 4, no matter what. And even I'm not on all the calls, Peter. Sometimes I can't be on them. My parents host the calls. So, but we will be back no matter what. And thank you for being on. Thank you for creating the space because this conversation definitely benefited me. I loved what you said about that week after you released the anger and that you've been in that heavenly state before. And I love to know that and that's how you saw people. Now all that is hugely beneficial for me to know and for me to practice as well. And so this conversation was very valuable for me too.
Awesome. Well, you have a great weekend, Jared.
All right. Thank you, Peter. We'll talk to you later. And everybody, we will be back at 4 o'clock Central next Friday. And feel free to invite as many people as you want. We'll be discussing the third hour of the disappearance of the universe. So let's go ahead and finish the call by saying have an awesome day and God bless.
All right. Have an awesome day and God bless.
Thank you, Peter. You too. God bless.
All right. Bye-bye, Jared.
Bye-bye.